If you've been scrolling through endless camera bundles, watching side-by-side comparisons, and still feel that nagging doubt about whether you're about to drop money on the right gear, this review is here to settle that. I've been digging through forums, reading the handful of user comments on the Blackmagic Design Pocket Cinema Camera 4K Power Kit, and watching a ton of test footage from creators who actually use it in the field. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Pocket Cinema Camera 4K has been pitched as the Hollywood look in a pocket, and that promise is what pulls a lot of hobbyists and small team creators in. The Power Kit bundles the camera body with a decent battery, a 12mm lens, an external SSD, and a few accessories that otherwise would have to be bought separately. The idea is to give you a ready-to-ship package that lets you walk onto a set or a location without hunting for third-party components. First off, who should even consider this bundle? If you're a filmmaker who already knows how to work with raw footage, wants the flexibility of a Super 35-sized sensor, and is comfortable handling external media, the Blackmagic Pocket 4K makes a lot of sense. It shines for indie narratives, music videos, and documentary work where you need that cinematic depth of field but can't justify renting a full-size cinema camera. On the flip side, if you're just getting started with YouTube vlogs, need a point-and-shoot that does a decent job of autofocusing on a moving subject, or you're looking for built-in stabilization to keep handheld shots smooth, you might be better off with a mirrorless option that integrates those features. Let's talk about ease of use. The menu system is intentionally minimal. Blackmagic wanted the controls to feel like a film camera, not a smartphone. There are 3 main dials for exposure, ISO, and shutter, and a touchscreen that shows waveforms, histograms, and focus peaking. In practice, this means you spend a few minutes getting comfortable with the layout, then you can dial in settings quickly. The learning curve is steeper than a typical consumer cam, but not overwhelming if you already know basic exposure concepts. I saw a few creators on YouTube who were able to transition from DSLR to this pocket cam after about an hour of hands-on time, thanks to the intuitive tactile knobs. Autofocus is where opinions diverge. Blackmagic opted for a contrast detect AF system that's reliable in static scenes but can hunt when subjects move quickly. In low-light situations, say you're shooting a concert or a dimly lit interior, the AF can become sluggish, and many users end up switching to manual focus with focus peaking assistance. If you're comfortable pulling focus manually, that's fine. The camera gives you a clear visual aid and the depth of field is shallow enough to be creative. But if you need a camera that will lock onto a moving performer with a single press, you'll find the Pocket 4K a bit frustrating. Low light performance is actually one of its strong points. The 4/3-inch HDR sensor can push ISO up to 25,600 while still retaining usable detail, especially when you shoot in Blackmagic RAW or ProRes. In a practical test, a user filmed a street scene at night with only the street lamps as illumination, and the footage held up with minimal noise after a modest lift in post. The downside is that the dynamic range, while impressive on paper, requires you to expose carefully to avoid clipping highlights in high-contrast scenes. The camera's built-in false color histogram helps, but you still need to be disciplined. Stabilization is another area where the Pocket 4K doesn't try to hide its limitations. There's no in-body image stabilization, IBIS, and the lens bundle includes a fixed-focus 12mm lens that's great for wide shots but doesn't help you steady a handheld run-and-gun style shoot. In real-world use, many creators pair the camera with a gimbal or a shoulder rig. The carbon fiber polycarbonate body is light enough that adding a small handheld rig doesn't feel cumbersome, but if you're hoping to go handheld without extra gear, you'll probably be disappointed. Now, the lens ecosystem. Because the camera uses a micro 4/3 mount, you have access to a huge library of lenses from cheap pancake lenses to high-end cinema primes. The bundle's 12mm lens is a solid starter for wide-angle work, and its compact size keeps the overall package truly pocket-sized. However, the crop factor means that a 12mm lens feels more like an 18mm on full frame, so you won't get the ultra-wide perspective some filmmakers desire for establishing shots. If you plan to swap lenses frequently, you'll need to factor in the time it takes to change them, as the camera's grip isn't as ergonomic as a DSLR when you're on a tight schedule. Battery confidence is where the power kit tries to give you peace of mind. The included battery is a larger capacity unit than the standard BP 4K battery, and Blackmagic's power management software lets you see remaining life on the screen. In field tests, creators reported getting about 90 minutes of continuous RAW